Man, I just want to write. I'm not worried about all that business stuff like advertising and audiences and categories and keywords. Oh man, that's just a mess. If that sounds like something you would say, I'm going to definitely need you to listen to this episode of Horrible Writing.
That will never work. You can't push that. Seriously? Don't. Oh my God, that's another thing you can do. That's bad. You probably should find other hobbies. You ever learn how to spell? Stop. Be happy. You don't. Don't bother me. I've seen better people. Do you really want to? And my third grade. Give it up.
Welcome to Horrible Writing, the rawest, most candid, in-your-face writing show on the interwebs because none of us have time to suck. Let's do this. Hey everybody, Paul Sading. Welcome to episode 109 of Horrible Writing. I am your host. I hope you know that by now, but this may be the first episode for some of you. So hey, welcome. This is a show about empowerment through candor, which means I believe in being very real and treating adults like adults. Maybe it's because I'm originally from New York. Maybe it's because I was a career military person. Maybe it's because I don't like a culture of non-accountability. I don't know. I'm an idealist. I believe that we can all be real with each other with the perspective, the vector of helping each other and not tearing each other down. But I'm a dreamer, so who knows? You may not like me after this episode. I'm here to tell you, if you're a writer, if you dream of selling a book, not to your mom, then you need this episode. Unless you're already doing this stuff. If you're not doing this stuff, you need this episode. This stuff being keywords. Learning about keywords. What are keywords? Well, that's a great question. Why do I need them? An even greater question. I don't need them now, right? Yes, you do. But great question. I want to address all of these things in this episode. So I hope you'll bear with me. I mean, I don't enjoy keywords. I don't enjoy Excel spreadsheets, though I use them every day of my life. And in terms of my writing, the writing part of my life. But these are the necessary evils, right? Just like some people may consider writing to market a necessary evil, or I want to be careful with this one, but doing our own book cover because we literally do not have the money to hire this out, and I'm literally trained in this so I can do it. You know, may not be the best use of your time, but right now it's the thing you've got to do. That's a necessary evil. Keywords, learning what keywords are, learning about keywords for what you're writing can't happen early enough. I want to use RIP as an example. Those of you who don't know, RIP was released in September 2019. It is a thriller suspense adapted from the second season of My Subject Found podcast. It's one of the last dark stories I'll do for the foreseeable future, maybe forever. We'll see, who knows? It's definitely a thriller, definitely suspense. More angled at, the crime serial killer aspect than anything else I've written in terms of novels. It's, kind of closer to Who Killed Julie, my other audio drama, than it is to the first season of Subject Found, the same thing that RIP was initially published under. And I tell you that to highlight the fact that I may have known what sold my first novel, Chasing the Demon, or Novel Idea to Podcast, my only nonfiction book, or even 12 Deaths at Christmas, my horror anthology. But I didn't know what sold thrillers, and arguably I still don't, because it's September when I'm writing this. The book goes hard release in 2 days. It's been out for about a week now. My patrons and my newsletter subscribers already knew about it and got the special price for it because they support me, right? That's what you do to take care of the people who take care of you. But for weeks and weeks now, I've been researching keywords for that book's release before it was released and understanding that I already have a year's worth of experience researching keywords. Now, what is a keyword? Think about this. When you put your book on Amazon, whether it's today or whether it's a year or two from now, and those of you who are not indies, I should have said this at the beginning, but those of you who are not indies, I need you to not unplug on this episode. I believe you need to hear this just as well, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I want you to kind of listen to this first and not get distracted with that other stuff right off the bat, because your journey may change. But think about Amazon. You've got that book and it goes up on Amazon. Whether or not you're exclusive to Amazon, it is there. It's going to be a marketplace for you. And oh, by the way, obviously it's the world's biggest marketplace for books, or the world's biggest book marketplace. I could have stumbled over that a little better. But my brain is occupied on keywords right now. I can only give so many things energy. When writers think about Amazon, they think about it as a retailer. This is a place where I'm going to go put my products, and people are going to find my products and buy my products, and I'm going to make gazillions of dollars, buy a private jet, live on an island somewhere, and just fly into continental Europe, America, South America, whatever. These are the things that happen. Well, we should all be so lucky. But besides that, your future buyer, the new fan you're going to have a year after you release that book, a month after you release it, 10 years after you release it, whatever, who isn't your mother, isn't your great aunt, isn't your lover or your best friend. They're just a nameless, faceless person in the void who comes across your book. You may look at Amazon as a retailer, but I tell you what, they do not. To them, and this is going to make sense as soon as I say it, to them, Amazon is a search engine. Think about what you do when you shop in Amazon. Think about what everybody does. I mean, I know people who go straight to Amazon instead of jumping into Google or Bing. They go straight to Amazon, and in that little bar at the top of the page, it has a magic word in it, right? It's the S word. No, not that one, the cleaner one. Search. And they go into that bar and they type in whatever they're looking for. Book buyers are no different. Book buyers go into Amazon and they punch in medieval fantasies with dragons. They want to find a book that is a medieval fantasy that has dragons in it. They don't know who writes those things. They don't care who writes them. They just want a book that looks good and entertaining and fun. Where are you going to place in those search results? Well, I'm not George R.R. Martin, so I'm not going to place number one, so forget it. No, wrong attitude. There are things you can do to help yourself be found when somebody goes into Amazon and searches for medieval fantasy with dragons. Let's talk about what you can do before that person's fingers go to the search bar in Amazon. So how can people find me? If I'm not George R.R. Martin and I write medieval fantasies with dragons, I want to know. Well, that's where mastery of keywords comes in. Understanding what a keyword is and how to actually leverage them in placing your books. So first off, the keyword. A lot of people will actually think it's a keyword. Fantasy, dragons, medieval. But it's actually not. Think about how search results happen in any search engine. Amazon is no different. Amazon, in fact, is very good at it, which is why Amazon dominates the online retail space, because people can find exactly what they're looking for. Amazon's very, very good at matching up algorithms with what people are looking for. So, to go back to our example, your keyword can be a word. I don't want to confuse anybody. It can be a word, but it can also be a phrase. In this example, maybe, I've done no work on this whatsoever, no research on it, but maybe medieval fantasies with dragons would be the thing that gets you landing right there in those top 10 search result returns. I don't know. But when you're thinking about your book and when you're thinking about how to position your book, you need to know that. You need to be comfortable with what people are looking for when it comes to placing your book. And some of you are interested in writing for the market. One of the ways you can figure out what the market is looking for is by keyword searching, keyword results, keyword research, figuring out what people are looking for. Now, this, again, can be a single word. It can be a phrase. And here's a neat little thing you may or may not know. It could also be a misspelled phrase. Now, I want you to think about your friend from high school, the one who was a dumbass. But all of a sudden, in their 30s, they've decided they want to start reading again. So they're out searching for books to read. I want you to think about how bad they spell. What makes you think that they're going to spell absolutely correctly into the search engine? Well, how many of those types of your friend from high school are there out there in the world that can't spell that tricky word that is a keyword that you've narrowed down for your book? So, Paul, you're telling me I not only have to figure out keywords and keyword phrases, but also misspelled alternatives to them? That's exactly what I'm telling you. You need to be thinking about these things, narrowing them down, finding the most appropriate for your story, and leveraging those. There's a lot of ad platforms for you to do that. And where you post your book, it will be a little different depending on who you ultimately go with. But the general practice is still the same regardless of where you are. So, for example, when you publish a book with Amazon, one of the first pages is about the product detail. And in that product detail, you're literally going to have a section that says keywords. And in that area, Amazon's going to give you 7 boxes to fill in. Now, fill in all 7. Don't scrimp on this. Don't get lazy. You worked hard on that book. Now is not the time to kick back, relax, and wait for the Benjamins to roll in. This is where even great books can fail and garbage books can thrive. And I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this is about visibility. And unless you have a large existing platform from which to get that publicity, or you get lucky enough to have John Green love your book and talk about it, I don't know, right? But with those very extreme examples to the side, the regular Jane and Joe Blow will be able to master these keywords. And the first chance you get is going to be when you put that book into Amazon to get their approval, or wherever you publish it, Draft Digital, whomever, and get them to publish it. You're going to have to tell them what those keywords are. Now, this is not the categories. When you go to Amazon and you see that it's ranked number 4 in such and such a thing, those are categories, and those are driven by what the author, you, tells your platform when you're going to publish your book, and then also based on their algorithms for where that book is falling, performing. This is keywords. 7 boxes in Amazon, again, for example, where you're going to have control with Amazon and you're going to tell them these are the things where I want my book to pop up. And this doesn't cost you a thing. Okay, so Amazon ads aside, where you've got to do more keyword stuff, this is simply just to get your book out there. You need to tell Amazon it's going to make you what keywords, keyword phrases you want included with your book. So what I always do is I go placehold my books. So when I was getting ready to publish RIP, I had a date in mind. I uploaded a temporary manuscript so that it would actually allow me to earmark this book as to be published. It's going to, a pre-order type thing. And then I put in some keywords and keyword phrases as placeholders until I did more research. So for example, for this one, there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to know what the book is about yet, because you want to check it out, you might want to fast forward. It doesn't completely ruin the story for you, but it will ruin a good portion of the story for you. So I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1. You're going to have to fast forward for like 3 minutes and then come back. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. All right, so the keywords for RIP were all over the place, in all honesty, if I'm being absolutely honest with you. But that's what I always do. I do that with my writing, and I've talked about it in the episode where I talked about just writing the book. Just get the content down, then go back and work on it and make it pretty. This isn't any different. So when I published, before I published RIP, I had things like one keyword phrase was myth, legend, and lore. Why? Because Subject Found, for those of you who don't know, is a serialized anthology. So each season of the podcast was a series. So 10 episodes of a particular story. But each season was standalone. You could enjoy them in any order. The books are no different. Even though they're a series, it's really a series. Anthology, Chasing the Demon, is about Bigfoot. Book 2 in that Subject Found series, RIP, is not about Bigfoot. Okay, maybe that's what I should have called it. Not about Bigfoot. But it is, just like Bigfoot, the central topic theme is to play off of that Subject Found brand of myth, legend, and lore. So when I was building keywords for the book, I included myth, legend, and lore in there, thinking, sure, it will ping on any of those words, but people who are looking for those 3 things are going to find it. I put something along the lines, and I don't remember exactly what my keyword phrases were, but something along the lines of a second one being, myth, legend, lore, fiction books, because I thought people would look for that, right? All this aside. And then I went and I did research, and boy, did my keywords change. One of my keywords was Subject Found, thinking that there are enough people in the world who are going to go know Subject Found, for one, but would be interested enough to see if there's any books out there. It was silly, but again, it was just a placeholder. I don't take those initial actions too seriously. Until I do the research, then I go back and I get that corrected, but at least I had the book on hold in Amazon. So and this is how nuanced it can be. So the legend, lore, myth, fiction keyword phrase stuck. It worked. Another one, thriller fiction about lore. That one actually has a very competitive marketplace, meaning there's not a whole lot of people. It had a higher search result, meaning per day, there was an attractive number of people, for me, comparatively speaking, searching that. And those are the 2 major factors for me. How many people per day are searching these phrases, and what's the competition like? If it's thrillers, right? Because Rip is a thriller. I could have used the keyword thriller fiction, something along those lines. But if I did, it's a highly competitive market with huge authors who would kick my rear end and basically squash my book before it had a chance to even catch momentum. Before I even got to peek my head in the door and say, hey, I've got a new book, the door would have been slammed and locked in my face if I went into a highly competitive market. So that's another factor that I look at in keywords. Another one that came back as a highly effective phrase, and here comes the spoiler. So fast forward 30 seconds if you really, really, really don't want the spoiler, was fiction about Jack the Ripper. There's a lot of people who look for that in Amazon searches every single day, and yet there's not a whole lot of people out there writing about it. So, of course, I did what I needed to do, and I included that in my keyword phrases when I went to go publish the book. All of this stuff takes a lot of time. There are tools available on the marketplace that can help you. And if you're part of the Horrible Writing Writer Support Group on Facebook, if you're not there, why aren't you there yet? Because you're missing stuff just like this. We can talk about that there. I'm not going to do it on an open episode of the podcast, but I will talk about it in that group if you are curious. There are tools that can save you a lot of time. Otherwise, you're out there crunching numbers, finding those books, finding out the categories, looking for the keywords by typing them into these search engines and seeing what it pulls up, looking at the ranks of the books that you get in results. I mean, can be very tedious. So I'm about productivity and I use relatively cheap tools. But again, if this is a priority for you, it takes money to make money. And this is one of those things I believed in investing in right away. It's one of the first things I got for myself when I got serious about this, and well before I was looking to actually publish. I offer that to you for you to think on, regardless of whether you're publishing in 2019, 2020, 2021, or whenever in the next 5 years. Whatever your aim is, I do encourage you to think about starting to look at keywords. Again, I just kind of detailed why. How tedious it can be to go into Amazon, have a tracking mechanism of some sort, a spreadsheet or a pen and paper, I don't know, and start writing down everything that you're searching for and those results. What is it pulling up? Where are they ranked in those categories, in the overall store, etc., etc., etc. Keyword by keyword by keyword. This could take a lot of time to do, but you need to know what's out there in the marketplace, what's it pulling up, and be honestly thinking about where your book fits in those results. And again, if you have those tools, it's a lot easier. It's still time consuming, but it's definitely a lot easier. And it teaches you, gives you insights that I would have never thought about, like the examples that I just gave to you in this episode. Now, earlier, I talked about how even those of you looking to do traditional publishing, you want that agent, you want that deal, because all this business stuff is a step too far. You just aren't interested in it for whatever reason. That's fine. Here's what I want, my argument to you. And I know I saved this to last for you, and I should have said it earlier, but I got running on my thought train. And once that thing gets rolling, just like a real train, that ain't in Hollywood, you don't jump off of it. You stay on or you die. So I've got to stay on my train thought or my thought train, or serious damage happens to me. But anyways, for those of you looking for trade, you don't want to do indie. At least for right now, you don't see yourself doing that. Why do you care about this conversation? Well, I gave you all that stuff up front. I meant to tell you this early on so you could frame it. Hopefully now you can think back on what I shared here and frame it going forward. Or if you love the sound of my voice, just replaying it in your head. But the reality is that most people who go the trade route are not going to get signed by a big five house, one of the big publishing houses. And even if you are lucky enough to, more than likely, you're not going to get a serious budget for marketing. It's just not going to happen. The old days of big advances and a nice PR campaign are gone, folks. Except with a very few exceptions, they're gone. Even those of you chasing trade, more likely than not, you'll be signed. If you're signed at all, you'll be signed by a small publishing house. And a small publishing house doesn't have the human capital to invest heavily in its authors, maybe 1 or 2 a year, not 10 or 20 a year. You're going to be doing a lot of the marketing yourself still. Don't pretend, please, that just because you go trade means you just get to be creative and somebody else handles the business side of things. That's not the publishing game in 2019. It's dead. It's gone. And as long as there's the internet, it isn't likely to come back. This is the new game. You have to play by the rules of the game or you're going to be left behind. And if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to be real. I'm going to empower you, but I'm going to be real. Obviously, you don't want to be left behind. Now, I'm telling you, you signed with that small house. They don't have a marketing budget. They're stretched thin just trying to produce the books. Their efforts are spread across 10 or 20 or 30 authors over the course of that year. How much attention do you really think you're getting? How much marketing is really happening for you? How sure are you that they put in those dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of research into keywords for your book? Keywords that are appropriate, keywords that are things that people are searching for, that if it led them to your book, it would be a sale. It would convert highly. How sure are you of that? If you say, I don't know, or, not sure at all, then I need you to hear what I said in this episode. You need to get smart. This is your career. This is your book. This is your opportunity. Even if it's just the only book in your life you'll ever want to publish, don't you want as many people as possible reading it? You wouldn't have taken it to the marketplace if you just wanted to share it with friends and family. So you might have to hold their hands still. I know it feels icky to talk business, but that is writing in 2019 as we get ready to wrap up 2019 already. Can you believe that? And look into 2020 and beyond. You have to become a marketer in some respect. One of the ways you can help yourself without having to get heavy into events and signings and being spammy on social media is by understanding keywords and letting that search engine optimization, letting those search engines do the work for you to get your book in front of people. Thinking about what words, what phrases would help lead people to my book and convert them. That's what keywords and keyword phrases are all about.
Transcription by Renzi Lee over at Renzi Lee Freelancing. For fast turnaround times on content writing, transcription, and editing services, email Renzi at renzileefreelancing@gmail.com.
All right, so I hope you found that educational and helpful. I know it's intimidating, it can be very scary, but again, these are important things for us to consider. So I hope you will at least do that for yourself. Think about that. Think about the keyword phrases and what it could mean for you. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a rating and review for it. Those help greatly. If you'd like to support it, I would love you to support it. Go to paulsading.com, click on that support tab, or just head over to patreon.com/paulsading. Get all the goodies, all kinds of goodies over there. Until next episode, keep being epic.
This has been Horrible Writing, and hopefully after this episode, you suck less than you did at the beginning. I am Paul Sading, your host extraordinaire. You can find me over on the Twitterverse at Writing Horrible and over at paulsading.com/horrible-writing. Until next time, suck less.